Hello, everyone. Welcome to the YouGrind podcast. I have here.
Carlos Rodriguez.
And who are you, Carlos?
I'm a photojournalist, and I do film production on the side. Mm-hmm. But my primary line of work is photojournalism.
What exactly does that entail?
So it's mostly news and documentary type work. I'm basically just a storyteller at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Based on real life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I never done a documentary, but I'm working on one. So, any advice?
Just jump in at feet first, really. Yeah. My specialty has been more along the lines of like true crime type stuff. So that's kind of where I've found my success, and I've just been going with it ever since.
True crime documentaries?
True crime, yeah. So, my photojournalism work is mostly based on, it's on broadcast television. So, crime stuff, public safety. To make it short and sweet, it's homicides and house fires, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I've found my success. Mm-hmm. A lot of people sometimes see it as negative, but I think it's still essential to, just people wanting to know what's going on in the community. And, when moms are asking why their kids' schools are on lockdown, then, that's kind of where I, kind of fill that, answer that question, mm-hmm. essentially.
But even take me back to maybe childhood or what started your passion.
Oh gosh, great question. So, as far as like getting into like camera work and stuff, yeah. So, I didn't have a lot of friends when I was little, and I loved going to school because that's where my social life was, right? Mm-hmm. And so, I would get sick often as a little kid and end up, bedridden or couch ridden, and so I'd watch, like monster movies on TBS, if you remember that network. And I always wanted to do more like special effects. So like stop motion and things like that. I loved, like stop motion dinosaur movies. Like the original King Kong has been a lifetime favorite movie of mine. And, just studying, productions like that always gave me an interest in like, just opened my mind into like, how can I replicate this? And kind of veered off the course, as I grew up. And then I played a little bit of sports when I was a teenager and suffered a pretty bad knee injury. And, that's kind of when I picked up a camera again and started shooting video and, became really good at it. When I took my first news job, I figured, well, I can do this news thing Monday through Friday and then use the equipment to do my own film projects.
How did you know you were good?
I found out I was good when I would run into the same people over and over at, emergency scenes and stuff. And they were like, hey, we watched your story on TV last night. It was pretty good. Thanks for getting that video of us. Can we get a copy? And I'm sure, and then that just kept going, like 2 weeks probably 2 weeks into my news career, I was hooked. I was like, I'm not doing anything else for the rest of my life. Like, this is it. And I still do film production stuff, like I've got a few features under my belt and some documentaries and stuff. And I'm pretty fortunate to have had the opportunities that I've had. Like I've had work on just about every single network. Even people have written in from around the world, like Iceland, Brazil, New Zealand, Germany, saying like, hey, we just saw, one of your projects. So that's pretty fulfilling, I think.
And where, how do you submit it? Like, how do you go through the process of submitting?
You know what? The work has come easy, and it's been through word of mouth quite often. When somebody is looking for a specific type somebody that can fulfill that need, function or has a piece of knowledge, like I've been really lucky to get recommended by a lot of people. And so, it's happened pretty much my entire career, like I've had people reach out from everything from like LA Times to Discovery Channel to CNN. And it's mostly just been through word of mouth, thankfully, or even just people searching, my work on the web, and they reach out and say, hey, can we license this piece of video from you? No problem. How else can I help? Mm-hmm. I've never had the mentality of saying no to work, and it's worked out pretty well for me so far.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is something that people don't really know about you that you're willing to share with me?
Oh gosh. I'm really just a gadget nerd, I'm a big kid. I love dinosaurs, I'm kind of working on a dinosaur project right now, which is very near and dear to my heart. Like what little kid never grew up loving dinosaurs, right? And like I said, like that, just that whole image of being a sick little boy in bed and watching, dinosaur movies, as a way to just escape not feeling good.
It almost reminds me of Elon and his space needle ship. It's kind of like Barbie or stuff like that, your childhood, and then you're like grown and then you want to make it a reality kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I'm just really at the end of the day, like I'm just a big kid, and I'm happy to feel that like in 22 plus years of my career, I feel like I've never worked a day, Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty happy with where I am, and I just hope I can keep it going. I'll do this until I physically can't pick up a camera anymore. And even then I can still sit behind a computer and do something, right?
What are you most proud of?
I'm most proud of just really just amplifying people's voices, like in my line of work, especially on, the journalism side, like you come across people that have really been through very deep tragedy, and one of the documentaries I did was it was a cold case homicide, and it was like this 8-year-old case. And when we released the documentary, like 2 new witnesses came forward to like kind of help fill in some of the cracks. And so to me, like that's very fulfilling, and even better, like I didn't take a dime, of payment on that project. I did, invested myself in it because I believe in, just helping first, and, it paid itself off later, and that's okay. But just the fact that I can do that for somebody, and help maybe get them one step closer to closure, that's payment enough in itself. So I'm very proud of that.
And it's true, because the first time I met you, or anything that you ever said when I'm near you, is how can I help? Mm-hmm. So I commend you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not something I'm used to
hearing. Yeah, it's just approaching everything with just a sense of gratitude and meeting new people, and it puts me back to just like being in college and stuff, and not experiencing those kind of opportunities for myself, like it was very hard. Mm-hmm. And so I'll do anything I can to just make it happen for somebody else, even if it's at my own expense, and sometimes it's been great for me. Other times it's backfired heavily for me, and that's okay. If I get burned sometimes and I got the opportunity to do it all over again, I'd still do it the same way, just sense of gratitude all the way around.
I sometimes get tired of doing the right thing. I get tired of trying to help because it's hard. It's hard to be positive. It's hard to always think positive.
Yeah.
And sometimes those negative thoughts get to you. What would be your advice when I'm feeling not so good?
Just, like I've been through a lot of rough stuff myself, and experienced my own like challenges and tragedies and stuff. And, being like, truly being behind a camera it's my therapy, even on the hard days when I don't want to do anything or get out of bed, like I can just pick up a camera and go somewhere and just be at peace with myself. And so, if you have the rad tools sitting around, like just pick them up and go and don't listen to anything else, find your own truth and push that, and, at the same time, you're teaching yourself not just resilience, but you're learning your tools, so it's win-win all the way around. And who knows, like that could really shift things in a lot of way from you, even, from the outside in, and the people around you, that's going to resonate.
True. I find that when I take pictures in nature or whatever, I feel better. Yeah, you're right. The camera definitely helps. Yeah,
I did 2 seasons of humpback whale migration that made its way onto Discovery Channel, and that was probably one of the most. I'll keep that with me for the rest of my life. The neat thing is like seeing some of the tagged whales the second season that were tracked the first season, but now they have like babies that they come and introduce, you to, like they'll swim right up to the boat and roll over on their backs and show you their bellies and stuff, like just makes you realize like how big this world is. And there's a lot out there that can just teach you peace and beauty, Shortly after that, I did some work at the Oakland Zoo for a while as a volunteer doing video work there and getting pretty close to the vets that worked with elephants and primates and stuff. That was really beautiful and fulfilling, it's taught me a lot about myself, just seeing how, just from a nature perspective, how peaceful things can be and simple, and just kind of releasing every other complication that, you might sometimes be going through.
Do you believe in aliens?
I believe that there's a lot of stuff out there that we don't understand. Like, I've kind of had my own interesting experiences that I can't explain sometimes, and I like to approach things with an open mind. And I know there's a lot of other people that have experienced things too, and like I said, those are things that I approach with gratitude, because otherwise, if it wasn't for this line of work, I would have never met those people, right? It's definitely an adventure every day, for sure. And people will ask me, like, what's your official job title? It's like, well, photojournalist, but really it's like adventurer, something new every single day. Definitely.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's
because
fun.
Doing the same thing over and over, it gets boring. But when you get to experience different people, different everything, it just makes it, like you said, an adventure.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
I couldn't see myself doing anything else. Like, I've thought about it, and it's like, okay, if I were to lose my job today, and have to switch careers, like, what could I do? Like, I'm 42, I've got too many responsibilities, I'm a single dad, and I couldn't go back to school, takes too much of my time. Job training would probably be a little too difficult. again, take too much of my time, I have to stick with this. And I'm happy to say that this is a line of work that I've made work for me in one way, shape, or form. Definitely.
Any crazy experiences or like cool experiences? I don't know.
Yeah, lots of crazy stuff. Wildfire situations are, I cover a lot of wildfires across the state, and I've had a lot of close calls, it's very unpredictable, and the science has changed a lot, geography's changed a lot. Weather's been changing, so it's always just kind of learning how much that change impacts your own safety and situational awareness. So I've had a couple of close calls where I've had to hunker down a couple times and just wait it out. On the film side of things, I won't name the production, but we had to green screen a tiger, and we hired the tiger from Gladiator.
What is exactly green screen?
So basically, the shot was a tiger had to basically leap up and put their paws on the actor. But obviously, we couldn't have that happen, right?
Right.
So what we did was the tiger came into a studio. They shot it against a green screen, which is just a solid color background. And then what they did was they removed that green screen and composited the tiger onto the image of the actor reacting, right? So they hired the tiger from Gladiator, brought it into the studio. It didn't want to do anything. It was absolutely lazy. So somebody went down to the local meat market, bought a container of blood and poured it into the milk, and it just went wild after that. And people were running out the door, and there's like a second level catwalk that they were, hiding up on, and we ended up getting the shot. But it could have been one of those instances where
because of the blood, or
it definitely had the mindset of this is mine, So we're just happy that it worked out the way it did. Trying to think what else. That's probably the wildest one. Everything else has just been, pretty much okay, and just funny stuff, really, and getting to meet new people, and oftentimes finding myself wishing that one day, I could cross paths and work with those people again, not just to BS with them and catch up and say like, hey, how's your life been? But also like to thank them for, letting me be part of their projects early on in my career and stuff. So I'm very thankful for those experiences.
Talking about the industry, do you have a lot of connections and friends, like friends, or is it just mainly cold and business oriented?
It really depends, like I've been on sets where I've heard people say like, oh, I'll never work with this crew again, and that's okay, but I think it's a really tough industry, right? And I'm thankful that a lot of the shows that I've worked on have had a lot of like-minded people where we're all like, I just want to get the job done, and get it done as best as we possibly can. Even if like I had an instance where I had to step down from a role because another person who had kind of walked out on a project came back and said like, oh, I don't want anyone else to take credit for this. Like, I just want this for me. And so I was like, hey, no problem. I'll hold a cable if I have to, I just want this to be the best project possible for you, and less ego, more gratitude, really. Yeah.
How do you check your ego?
Really, it's just, just trying to keep in mind, like, what can I contribute to this, and what can I learn at the same time, I think. And then, hope you get invited back for the next show. Really, like I'm pretty lucky that I've had good experiences so far and just had repeated calls. And I think with each project I've like grown each time. There's always been new challenges, physically, technically, but we've always gone past them one way or another. So things have been pretty good so far.
All right. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, what kind of projects are you interested in, and what inspires you, in the industry?
Well, I'm currently trying to work on a documentary, like I told you, but before I worked in a miniseries. Just being able to connect people. I like that, connecting people both in writing and in a project. Just like content. I like creating content. I'm passionate about what I make, what I write, what I do. So that's why I like the industry, I guess. Film industry is pretty interesting. It's very competitive. And everybody wants to succeed. And people get caught up in trying to succeed, that they forget the human. And if I can remember that and work and speak to the human side of people, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that's really interesting about this industry is just being open-minded and like you said, meeting people. And one of the things that I'll always remember is there's people up in, especially in our region, like Northern California, Bay Area, that are very disconnected from Los Angeles, Southern California, or other, production hubs. But we're really not, there's lots of opportunity out there, and people are like, well, how do you get into the industry? How did you do this? And you just have to inject yourself in some way. There's been instances where I've been called like last minute to drive down to Los Angeles, and it's like, I'll leave right now, give me 20 minutes to pack some gear and I'll head out there, and it's worked out okay. Like I've been okay. Like I said, it's 22 years, and I've been really happy with
22 years.
22 years.
It's a long time. So you're definitely passionate about it.
Yeah.
No definitely. Questions about it.
No.
Because you wouldn't have done it for 22 years and otherwise.
It's changed a lot. Like, this industry has changed a lot. It's become more accessible. It still has its toxic side, like people, like gatekeeping is a constant issue, and it's just like, for what, like, do the work and
have you ever felt like giving up?
There's like I said, there's hard days, right. There's really hard days. Giving up, no. Like, there's been times where, like, I've experienced, tragedies in my life, and I stopped working, for a month or two, and it's just
I feel like giving up all the time. So I feel like it's just me coping with hard days, like you said. So I feel like if you don't want to give up, then you're not working hard enough. Honestly, we made it into a joke because I'm always like, I give up. But really, my give ups is I need help, or, my way of screaming out for help, or
sure.
Like saying I had a really rough day. But, you got to turn that negativity into a positive. It's like, okay, I'm working hard, so I feel like giving up, but that means I'm working hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The best projects that you can do for yourself are the ones that you really know about. Like, you plant your own experiences into, like, let's say you're doing a narrative piece, plug your own experiences into it, and that it just makes it that much better because you're your own expert on the subject, right? And that adds a completely authentic perspective to maybe somebody else that can relate to it.
Right.
You know, I've always had two mindsets when I do my own projects. I still create content for the little kid inside of myself, but I also want to create it for the little kid in others too. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm pretty lucky.
I don't think you told me how you discovered the camera, though.
Oh, so, you know, I always knew doing this line of work, like, a camera was necessary, right? My dad bought me, like, my first compact VHS camera when I was a teenager. And I still remember, like, breaking tapes and, you know, ruining batteries and stuff, just wearing that thing out. You know, I didn't really grow up in a household that, you know, like we were poor, right? You know, and we worked hard for our stuff. And, but I definitely, you know, cherished the thoughtfulness and the willing to nurture my passions, you know, and I'll always carry that with me. Like I said, like, you know, if I can do something for somebody else because I think of my own. I said this to somebody recently, like, your successes, you know, my failures mean your successes, and I'm okay with that, you know? So.
Yeah, I have the mindset that I want to succeed, but if my team succeeds and I don't, I'm okay with that. Because it's all about the next generation of people.
Not just that, but they're going to remember that and, you know,
right.
Bring you along.
It's just good to be, to be a teacher, to be a mentor, to be a helper. It's important. It's important to not just be about yourself. I can't express that enough. And I don't think people are used to that mindset anymore, where it's like us, team, we, not just me, or, you know, it's really hard. It's really hard. Don't get me wrong, because people will fuck you over and not treat you right. But it's okay, because I'm not perfect either. You know, I fuck people over, not on purpose, but it happens. But as long as we remember that.
Yeah. Those experiences can still be wins because you're learning, you know, you're learning. We're all just human. You know,
teachable is important. Yeah.
And if it upsets you in some way, like, it's because you're passionate about it, right? And if you didn't care, then you're not in the right industry,
right?
You know, that's another thing I told to somebody. You know, like, if in the journalism world, like, we don't get to decide when, you know, news is happening. And if we're not getting up in the middle of the night, we're in the wrong industry, you know?
And that's the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Any famous last words?
Oh, gosh. Always visit craft service. Get your food. I always think with my stomach first.
Yes. Yeah. You want to be found? Where can people find you?
Just Google me. Yeah, I'm around. You know, like, I don't really have a claim to fame in a lot of my work. You know, I just like getting it out there. Yeah, like I said, I've had to work on. I'm currently freelancing for, you know, CBS and Paramount right now, and so that's where a lot of my work is these days, trying to get on a documentary team. And there's always going to be new opportunities, so I'll be around. Yeah. Instagram, it's at carlosrodriguez.tv. Yeah, it's probably where I'm most active these days.
There you have it. Subscribe to him, subscribe to us. See you guys next time. Thank you.